are you this evening?
I don't seem to know where the hell I'm sitting.
You're wherever you want.
I guess I'll just stay here. I was over there, and then I moved over there, and now I'm over here. So
Okay,
every time I
times
get up, I
charms.
go someplace else. Okay, we have a call to order for the Bartlett Economic Development Commission meeting for April 8th, 2019. Tony, may we have a roll call, please?
Jerry Cabasco,
Here.
Cecilia Green, Michelle Hughes,
Here.
Adam Lewinsky, Tracy Smadilla, Nan Gutenkoff, Joe Laporte, Robert Perry, Stephanie Gansey.
Here.
Okay. Thank you. We have a quorum. We have 6 people.
Okay, we have a quorum, and as always, the next agenda item will be the approval of the previous meeting from March 11th, 2019. Do we have a discussion on the minutes from that meeting, or?
Mr. Chairman, I just have a point of order. I'd like to move to amend the agenda, moving public comment to item number 4. I don't know that we're expecting any guests, but at one of our previous meetings, we had a member of the community sit and listen to us for an hour and a half prior to making her brief comments.
Okay. Commissioner Smodilla's comments are noted. Any other discussion? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the minutes.
Have a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
You have a point
Oh, I was just,
of discussion?
oh, no, I just abstain. I wasn't here at the last meeting.
Are you seconding? Are you going to second the motion to approve?
She did that.
Oh, you did, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Okay, we have a motion, seconded to approve, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Chamber of Commerce update.
Redress my motion to amend the minutes.
Sure.
And my motion is that we amend amend the agenda to move public comment to item number 4.
Okay. Do we need to do something on that, Tony? Take a vote on it?
I think Robert's Rule of Order has a motion and a second to amend the agenda, and then a vote to amend the agenda is what I see them do at the village board meetings for that.
So I would move to amend the agenda as presented.
Okay. Do we need a second on it? Okay. I'll second that amendment.
Okay.
Okay, now, do we have any further discussion on the previous minutes?
We would move to vote and approve that.
Okay.
Okay, I can take a roll call to amend the agenda. Commissioner Stephanie Gansey,
Yes.
Joe Laporte,
Yes.
Tracy Smadilla, Michelle Hughes,
Yes.
Nan Gutenkoff,
Yes.
Jerry Cabasco.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Apologize for the mix-up there on the procedure. Okay, next agenda item would be the Chamber of Commerce update.
Oh, already, we're flying along. Yay, I'm liking this.
I brought some of our new directories for the year in case you haven't seen them. And had some information.
Thank you.
I'll introduce this really fast. The Chamber of Commerce, when the EDC was originally formed, and then there were a couple of ordinances amending it over the years, but not for quite a few years. It was comprised so that there would be a total of 9 members, one of which is automatically a representative of the Chamber of Commerce. And so you always see either Nan or some other representative of the Chamber of Commerce here every month. And so thought usually a couple times a year we turn it over for a quick update to the Chamber of Commerce, since they have a lot of educational opportunities and meetings and after hours and all that kind of stuff. So I'd turn it over to Nan to tell the rest of the commission some of the things the chamber's up to these days.
Just to make it quick, like I said, this is our new resource guide, and we mailed 14,300 of them out to residents and businesses in town. So we've been getting some feedback from that, good feedback. We are at Heritage Days and National Night Out and whatever we can to get our directories out, to promote shop local, keep it local, support the businesses, and consider the chamber to be a resource for whatever needs they have. We do get calls pretty much on a daily basis from the community looking for something, be it a plumber, be it whatever. We are the resource. So anyway, this is our list. I put an upcoming events sheet in just to kind of give you an idea of what we're doing, but like Tony said, we do morning, afternoon, evening events. I put a golf outing. We have a golf outing coming up on June 20th, and we're looking for golfers, sponsors, donations, volunteers. It's not a serious golf outing. It's all about having fun. So if you don't know how to golf, that's okay. Yeah, we've got ribbon cuttings and different events. We have Breakfast with the Village coming up on May 15th. So Mayor Wallace will give us a report on the upcoming village. And since we are also the village, or the Chamber for Hanover Park, we will also have a representative, Trustee Porter, from the Hanover Park Village will give their report. So, if you know anybody interested in joining the chamber, we would love to talk to them and get to know them, so we can refer their business as well.
Thank you, Nan.
I saw that there's newsletters going out to business owners. When a new business comes to town, do we collect their information, and is there some kind of sharing about the chamber in that, or is it just strictly up to the chamber?
I don't think so. And actually, I talked to somebody recently that was telling me how they get a list of the new businesses that come to town, but we don't really get that. So we would love to get that email that somebody else was getting when a new business comes to town.
There's no official list that goes out when new businesses come to town. Sometimes people issue FOIA requests. A lot of times we put it in the Bartlett or Discover Bartlett page usually is where you'll see it.
You know, Tony and Scott are both good about promoting us when they can. But yeah, the more help that we get, the better comes out.
My question is the chamber working with the village on the recent database that was put together?
Not every, I mean, we work with the chamber, but we have so many businesses that aren't part of the chamber for whatever reason. So there is some separation because I would say more than half of our businesses aren't in the chamber. Though we always encourage them to be. We're big proponents of the chamber, but.
Yeah, I just think that sounds like a very logical, collaborative effort between the village and the chamber. And I think with particular import to, in not the past meeting, but the previous meeting, we talked about a survey going out to all of the businesses. And I think the chamber would probably be a very good partner in that, in developing questions to find out what's on businesses' minds and how they remain competitive in our community.
If you're supporting Hanover Park as well, is there a way for you to get that information, do you know? You get information from them?
As far as new members?
Yeah,
I mean, new businesses, I do,
Okay.
because I'm on their Connect Committee, which is equivalent to this.
Got it.
And every meeting, every month, they have welcome packets with business licenses and whatnot, and I'm always the designated person to take them out and welcome the businesses and give them their business license and
okay.
that. So I,
Is there something like that that's done within the village, the welcome packets, that maybe you could get involved that way? I don't know.
That's something we could look at doing. We work real closely with the new businesses that come in. Usually they have multiple meetings, a lot of times a lot of public meetings. So, you know, a lot of times they already have all that information. Like Scott said, some of them may choose to join and others may not. But that's something we always do encourage them to join. It's part of our normal set of information that we disseminate.
one of the things that we have done this year is we allow people to do quarterly, or not quarterly, but 4 payments or monthly payments. And I know that was brought up at the board meeting, and somebody said, well, I can't imagine a business can't pay $233. But new businesses starting out are hit in every direction from so many things, that actually $233 to some small businesses is a big deal. So a monthly payment makes it pretty reasonable. And we have had some people that have joined knowing that that was the case, that it's only going to be about $20 a month that they can handle. So that, I don't know if you were aware of that or not, but that was something that we started.
That's accurate. Sometimes it might not be the 200 itself, but on top of all the other
It's like the
fees
final
and
straw.
licenses and everything, it can be like a straw that breaks the camel's back. And then something I've just happened to have noticed is some businesses that have already been open for a couple of years, when they start hitting some kind of wall or some kind of struggle, and a lot of times they'll call myself or Scott and just we'll meet and talk about different ways they can either, I was going to say re-engage, but some of them never really engaged to begin with. And we always put that out there. And so you see some of these people have ribbon cuttings, for instance, restaurants after they've been open for a year, or somebody that may have been around for several years, or in some cases, somebody will take over, for instance, a State Farm office in Bartlett Plaza that's been there for 100 years, but a new person will re-engage with the chamber. So, I mean, the chamber engages a lot. We always encourage it, but it's not something the village requires per se, but it's something that we encourage.
And we really try to make an effort to meet with our members, because every time we think we know everything that a business does, when we just really sit down and find out what exactly do you do, what is your specialty, what puts you apart from your competitors, and what can we do to help you, it's always beneficial. That, you know, maybe they need some additional e-blasts, maybe they need a grand opening or grand reopening, or just maybe they need to host a morning event, just some way that, and every single time for many years, every time that we've had an event that we bring people in, like a morning event or whatever, every time I hear somebody say, oh, I didn't know you were here, I didn't know you did that, something to that effect. And that's why we bring people to you. That it's beneficial, yeah. So, again, a lot of times people just don't realize what we can do for them, but we are so happy to go and meet with them, or have them come to us either way and just sit down and, how can we help you? What can we do? Here's some suggestions. Struggling businesses are a specialty too.
Okay, we can move on to the next agenda item, which would be the Brewster Creek Business Park Open House, which will be hosted on April 18th. Tony, you want to
Yes, I had
hit us on that?
Sure. A couple months ago, you recall, I had done the very large and detailed economic indicators report, and part of that showed that the industrial vacancy rate in the village had declined to 8.2% from 14.8% about a year earlier. I won't list out again, but it's due mostly to real large-scale leases. Probably 2 years ago tonight, I was sitting here telling you about all these large speculative buildings coming to the business park. And then over the months, we work with brokers and owners and tenants, potential businesses to fill these businesses. That's the business model for creating a strong business park. One of these buildings, the largest building out there, I remember talking about quite a bit, this building by Exeter Property Group is 421,000 square feet at 1323 Brewster Creek Boulevard. Very soon after it was completed, I'm going to ballpark it at about a year ago or so. It was definitely last spring to early summer. Half of the building was leased to Animal Supply Company, a very good business to work with that had expanded, by my recollection, I think from Carroll Stream, might have been Hanover Park, moved into there, leased about half the building. Right now, there's still 199,000 square feet available. And while it's not as glaring a vacancy as the commercial vacancies are, like shopping centers, like in Gorski's, for instance, this is square footage-wise the largest vacancy in the village for about 6 months or so. We still work closely with this developer. We don't, leave them to their own devices once the building's completed. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be meeting with the building owner tomorrow, but not necessarily about this open house. But anyhow, so we'll be meeting with them tomorrow afternoon. Asked me along those lines of, what can the village do to help me fill this large vacancy in our business park, and offered to co-host this open house. So the thinking behind the open house, just so everybody knows, there have been blast invitations sent out twice, 3 times. We sent it to our own broker list, and it got sent out twice to a very large list of an industrial broker association through Chicago. So far, we have about 50 people registered. But again, the goal of it is really we're targeting, because I got some calls. I put it on LinkedIn and got some kind of random calls from people who were just kind of interested in it. And I explained it wasn't excluding residential brokers. That wasn't the point, is to bring in industrial brokers to see this building. And we've done this before. Commissioner Perry's not here tonight, but we did it for a listing that he had in Brewster Creek about 3 years ago that helped attract a tenant to it. Long story short is we're having this next Thursday. It's at 1323 Brewster Creek Boulevard. You should have all seen the invitation already that I sent out. And it's on Eventbrite, so I'm just going to show you real fast, because the times when I did this before, you have to learn from your mistakes. And I would say to email or call Tony. And so I would get just a lot of interesting calls, very few of them from industrial brokers, but people would register for it and ask a lot of questions and mostly try to sell me something. But anyway, we put it through Eventbrite this time, so they can provide a nice handy-dandy list for us next week of who's registered. And you can see it's a nice app too. We did the text, but it's a map. I would get probably 25 calls the day and a half before it of me trying to explain how to get to a certain building. So I'm trying to avoid doing that also. This is the building itself, 1323. You can see on the map, if you can see on your packet or your device or up there, it's this big box kind of in the middle of the business park there. Like I said, 423 420,000 is 10-acre building under roof. So there's a large building. Of course, we want to fill it. The developer and owner very much wants to fill it, as you might imagine. This was a project that went into the tens of millions to build this. So what I'm actually going to be meeting with them is possibly even expanding the building. But it's a large building, and there you have it. Next Thursday, we're going to send out another e-blast this Wednesday. And also, again, on my own social media, the businesses in Brewster Creek have all been invited, and they'll all be invited again. So we want to get, we want to get a lot of people there. So again, I hope, if you haven't registered yet and you want to, please do. We set a limit for this Sunday. I have to call a caterer. You may have heard of the Dog Father, and had to go out of town to find a company that does the tents and or not the tents, but they're a company that does chairs and table setup, and I think their name is Tent something in Carroll Stream. So that's next Thursday. Hope you can join us.
And what was the list that you sent to for this?
Chicago Industrial Properties.
Okay.
Oh, the brokers list, you mean?
Yeah, like how did you come up with the
There's
list?
two
of
different
invites?
lists. We have our own in-house list of brokers, mostly from my Rolodex over the years of doing this. And the larger email blast that went out was through Chicago Industrial Properties.
Okay.
It's a publication that everybody and anybody who's involved with industrial properties in the Chicago area subscribes to. And that was an email blast. I think they sent it to like 12,000 people.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Did the Choose DuPage group, did they have a list, or did you send it to them to?
They sent, good question. They sent a list of brokers that typically attend their events, but it was kind of a smaller list. I didn't count, but I'm going to say it was about 30 or 40 people. I did send it to them. I'm going to send it to them again, too. I mean, as somebody who gets about 200 emails per day at work, I can tell you that a lot of times, if you send me a survey or a link to something or an invitation, you might have to send it a few times before
Oh, yeah.
I really notice it or take action. So I figure these brokers are the same way. They probably get 100 emails a day like this.
And then how about, do we still have a relationship with Sperry Van Ness? Would they have like potential people that are interested in it that would come?
Yeah, keep in mind, our Sperry Van Ness brokers, well, first of all, they're all on our list, on our in-house list. Joel Miller and Brian Haney and those guys have been invited. Those are retail brokers, and honestly, there's very, very few brokers that span from retail to industrial.
Industrial, okay.
Industrial is a real niche. But yeah, they've been invited. They have industrial people too.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to, this is one of these things I want to mention again. It's a very targeted audience. I mean, even though so far we have about 50 people, there's probably 10 of them are big-time power brokers in the DuPage/O'Hare area. We want more people like that coming, but we really want somebody who has a tenant looking for 199,000 square feet.
If we have no discussion on Tony's comments, we can move on to the item number 6 on the agenda, the business email blast. Tony?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to ask Scott to elaborate on some of this, but the short of it is that our staff, myself, Joey, Sam, who's not here, we spent some time gathering email addresses. Again, from a lot of them came from business licenses. We have asked, recently we added a line on business licenses for people to put on their email address. Believe it or not everybody writes that down. I have, like I said, an extensive collection of business cards and contacts and emails from businesses in town that I've worked with. So we went through that as well. Long story short is we came up out of the 400 some odd licensed businesses in Bartlett. When I say licensed, the ones with commercial or industrial or office locations, not the home-based businesses. We came up with all their emails. Joey, I would say besides maybe 20 of them or so, or 15 of them. And so, as had been suggested at the EDC by various commissioners recently, to do some kind of ongoing communication, keeping the businesses in town informed. This is totally different than our broker blast I was just talking about. These are people who have business licenses and operate businesses in town, all the way from people who've been here for 35 years, like Bruce Suffern, all the way to people who just opened, 2 weeks ago. So we wanted to be able to reach out to them. I'm going to, again, give credit to Scott for putting together the first one in terms of the information that we sent out. You can see it's like, kind of a welcome type of email. Also, the EDC has commented a few times that we need to better promote the fact that our vacancy rate has declined so dramatically over the last year, to try to dispel that false notion that there's so many vacancies everywhere in the village. Really, at this point, there's one large kind of glaring vacancy, I would say. But in terms of the overall rate, when you're 10 or under, you're in good shape, and we're at 7. So we put that in there so they would know that. We met some staff, again, myself and Scott met with some police staff, and we're talking about doing some type of business academies and including the police with it. And I don't want to go over every detail of it, but there's an active shooter training that we put together on May 2nd. There's some information about some other things. I'm going to ask Scott to kind of flush it out a little bit. So,
If you recall, we discussed being able to communicate with the entire business community with one click of a button. This was the first one. We don't have 100% of the business emails yet, but we're striving to do that. And some critical information on here. Like Tony said, the police department will be hosting active shooter training, given some of the tragedies that have happened recently. It's a timely thing, so we wanted to reach out to them and set that up. Lake Michigan Water, we have a lot of businesses where water is a huge part of their operation, so we wanted to give them a link to the water page. Our TOD plan that you're familiar with. We highlighted the BETA program, Discover Bartlett. We've asked the business community if they have any feedback to contact us. And then we put a link. One of the harder things is if a company wants to do a build out, where do they go? How do they do it? We put a link to our building department on that email as well. So it's kind of more of an introductory thing. A lot of the recommendations that you've had, we'll plan on incorporating that into these emails, but given this was the first one, we wanted it to be more welcoming and simple information as opposed to asking them to do something or things of that nature. But if you got any questions, we can certainly answer them.
Do you guys get any feedback from the?
Yeah, a lot of people said they liked it. A lot of people said that they really enjoyed hearing from the village, so.
I got several emails to that effect thanking us for that.
Anybody pursue BETA?
Yeah, a call today, and I'm going to say this, that I get a lot of calls and meetings for things that never make it past, a concept or a meeting to make it to the EDC or to the board, but this particular one was for another person with interest in doing another restaurant in Westgate Commons. So you heard it first. Here, there's 3 real strong restaurants now in Westgate Commons, and one of them just was our first beta grant applicant, and possibly another one. Kind of came through tangentially through this, but it's somebody who, we'll add to the email blast.
Are you able to see the data of like who opens and clicks? So then there's someone over time that never does, maybe we could do like. a
Yep, we
regional-
were able to see our errors when we mistyped their emails.
Oh,
in the
yes.
Database. We were able to see hard bounce, soft bounce.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we're going to continue to, when we see mistakes, we get bounce backs, we'll
Perfect.
call the businesses and fix those errors. The goal is 100%. We're not close to that yet, but we're getting closer.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to stay in contact with everyone and allows them to reach back out to you, so it's awesome.
Paula had reached out to me a couple months ago regarding the active shooter training and asked if the chamber would be willing to partner or whatever. And I was enthusiastic about it, but I hadn't heard any more about that, so.
Well, this particular email was just kind of a FYI, and just on Friday, we put a save the date on our social media. We're still working on some of the logistics, but once we do, we would love to have the chamber's support. And if you could send a blast out for us. We're actually working on this is actually kind of a village issue, but we're working on integrating event RSVPs within our website. And this may be the first one of that nature. We want to be able to send out an email, have them go into our village calendar and click yes or no. So that's kind of what we're doing probably tomorrow or Wednesday. So once we have that set up within our village website, then we'll be sending it out to anybody and everybody
Where will it be held?
here at Village Hall in the police department.
Do you have a time on it yet?
There's one in the morning and one in the afternoon. I believe it's 9 to 11 and 4 to 6, but I'll clarify that and get you that information as well.
Thank you. And it's just a one-time thing?
It is, but it's kind of the kickoff to something that we hope becomes bigger. Like, for example, what 7-Eleven needs from our police department isn't necessarily the same as what Greco needs. We want the business community to call us. We want to do site checks, safety checks. Are your windows blocked off too much? Do your bushes hang over your door? Are we able to, or when the police drives down the street, is there adequate lighting? Things of that nature. So we're kind of hoping that, given the tragedies and given the timing of this, is to get them their foot in the door, acclimate them with the police department, make them more comfortable with the police department, in hopes that it helps better that relationship. So we're hoping to have a lot more business academy type things with the police department.
Okay, this seems to conclude our discussion about the email blast. Move on to item number 7, new business. Tony, you want to blast us about that?
I do. I have 2 things I wanted to tell you under new business tonight. The first of which is that we've been working pretty closely with Orange Theory, a very much up-and-coming fitness business that has a few locations and is expanding into the area. We've been working for several months with a franchisee who owns one in downtown Roselle, and he has found a suitable location in Bartlett in the Brewster Creek Shopping Center. And for those of you who don't know the name of every center, it's the one by where the Walgreens is. and has signed a lease there and is going to be kind of taking the village by storm in terms of, this is somebody who's one of the best marketing people I probably have ever met with, and is kind of hitting all the marks of where he's going to, utilizing social media and print advertising and signage and everything, direct mail. So that one is coming into town. Met with him probably once a week, like the last 4 or 5 weeks, to go over these are some of the meetings we have during the day where we're trying to flush things out with somebody. So that's a go. I wanted to mention that one under new business.
So if he's doing all those things, he's joining the chamber too, of course, right?
Yeah, that's a given.
I'm actually a member at OTF, and I love it.
So, yeah, and so you probably
And I-
already know the guy who runs
I go to that one sometimes,
to Roselle.
Roselle sometimes, yeah, on the
Yeah, I
weekend.
mean, part of his due diligence is looking at the number of Bartlett residents who are, members at the Roselle location. And it's very interesting because a lot of times, we talk about demographics. Like when we're talking, well, again, for that big report in February, you talk a lot about demographics. Well, this guy comes in with extremely detailed demographics. It's not us giving him demographics per se, it's him coming in, discussing it. All the same ones that I've looked at for years, drive time. He has little dots of where all his customers live, so he's got like heat maps. And for him, moving out this way is going to help him attract people who live on the east side of Elgin and some Streamwood and Hoffman and Schaumburg residents and stuff like that. So anyway, it's a pretty interesting business model and interesting guy to work with, and it's coming to town. And should be coming soon.
How does that affect their neighbor, which is the yoga place there?
Yeah, he had spoken with them and kind of considered them more of a yoga type of business. If you're unfamiliar with Orange Theory, it's almost, oh, you are?
No, I'm familiar, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's very different from these other types of business, fitness businesses. And also, I would want to mention that oftentimes in a shopping center, a certain business will have, some type of right to be the only such business. They'll have some kind of addendum in their lease. And I think that these two were different enough that, Orange Theory wasn't prohibited from leasing and locating there. They're similar for sure. I mean, two fitness businesses in one center.
And I have one thing to add about one of your recommendations. About the metro station, lighting and striping, the recommendations we're taking serious enough to get on the schedule. So this summer, all new striping along the metro area. The lighting is being looked into. That's a little more expensive, a little more pricey, but it is being looked into. So I wanted to let you know that your recommendation was taken with great sincerity, and you'll see some new striping out there this summer.
Thanks for that update, and I think, certainly the businesses, and I think of Peggy O'Hare specifically, I know that she'll be appreciative of that, and we can only imagine that the proprietors of the new Bartlett Tack will be ecstatic, as will JC's and TL's, so that's great. It's a great way to roll out the welcome mat.
And those that have to cross are very excited too.
Thank you. Let's send that to the business community.
We will, for sure.
Were there any, sorry. I just had a question, just since I wasn't here last month. Were there any updates to Bartlett Plaza?
Yes, Mr. Raffidia was up before the village board last Tuesday, This was a somewhat unique situation where he was applying for 8 special uses all at once, and the village board did approve all of his special uses. And the way I described this months ago, you know, I don't describe this as the final step in the business, in his plan, but it's another positive step forward. You know, for sure, he wasn't going to move forward if he didn't get approval for the special uses, which he did. So he's still under contract, and we're still communicating with him extensively. Another person we meet with every week, and the last meeting we had was specifically, what we were just talking about is he's going to dramatically improve the lighting for that shopping center. And I'll tell you, he has what we call that decorative lighting that you see up and down Main Street, and you can look at it tonight when you leave Village Hall. It's in the parking lot. That was something Roberta Grill and other staff met with him and asked him if he would match that lighting. Of course, again, he's not required to, but in terms of the vast improvement and redevelopment of the center, we thought it would be a real good idea to dramatically improve the lighting for that center, and he readily agreed to do that. As a matter of fact, I think after his approval last week, it's quite possible he put in the order already for it. I'm not sure, but he had a time, he had something with a contract where he wanted to buy these lights by a certain time, and it's my understanding he's moving forward to purchase the lights, which looks pretty promising for him to close on that center.
That's really encouraging. I mean, obviously, it sounds like he's putting his best foot forward to be, you know, not just an investor in the community, but a really good corporate neighbor. So certainly applaud that. I would just make one tiny suggestion about the lights downtown. Perhaps Public Works could look at getting a warmer temperature for the light bulbs. I know that there was an investment in LED lighting, but the cool temperature makes us look pretty outdated. And it's kind of harsh. So I don't know if warmer temperature on the lighting would be, again, just to give us that warm, small town feel.
It's a good recommendation. I mean, we do have meetings. I always say these aren't the exact meetings where we do the capital plans, but we do take, when we meet to go over capital budget, usually it's a 5-year rolling budget. We'll definitely, I don't know enough about warmth of lights, but it's something I can say in a meeting, you know, that we do want to upgrade the lights in that manner. Sure.
Has the Bartlett TAP been able to utilize the BETA grant yet with the updates that they wanted to do?
I actually finished writing up his BETA grant memo today that is going to the village board next Tuesday.
Okay.
There were some board members that, because the project was taking some time to complete due to the very extensive rehab that he's doing of the building, we had held off from bringing it to the village board last month, but it's coming up next Tuesday night. He's getting very close, wants to open this month. I hope when we sit here the second Monday of May that we can tell you it's open. You can go there after the meeting.
I spent about an hour with him today there. Looks awesome. I think it's going to go really well.
That's cool.
So next meeting, we're all going to go out for a Coca-Cola after, visit the establishment, if you'd like.
Yeah.
The place that was going in right next to him, is that no longer?
They're moving. They're going to come. We're keeping them moving fast. Takes a long time to.
There's rumor going around that it's all over.
All those rumors are just not true. Sometimes those rumors are pesky ones. We met with them last week. They're coming.
Awesome.
I heard them too.
Okay, next agenda item would be the adjournment. Anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye, motion carries. And we are adjourned.